Welcome to the MetaMarine Podcast, where we talk all things from Warhammer 40k that have power armor. Keep all appendages inside the drop pod until it comes to a complete stop. It's time to rev your chainswords and beseech the Pantheon. Don't be a Tina. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9 of the MetaMarine. I'm Max Style, here with Nick Fuller and Thomas Bird. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Great to be here.
We are recording in the middle of the week this time. We've all had our schedules have been kind of upside down and left, right, upside. It's been kind of rough to get together here. So we're finally together here to talk about some 40k stuff this week.
Lots of 40k. There's been a lot of stuff.
There's been a lot that's happened in the 2 weeks since we last recorded the episode. So tonight we're not going to talk orcs yet. We'll talk orcs probably next time. Tonight we're going to talk Chaos Space Marines, but not just going over data sheets. That's kind of vanilla. We're going to talk about what you're going to see and how you're going to have to deal with it as the Marine player or as another Chaos Space Marine player or whatever flavor you like. And then we'll talk about how we've been doing in tournaments, what's been going on with us, and then what we've learned. So it's kind of our standard fare. We'll get started with what did we learn this week? I learned some interesting things about T-Suns that have not come up yet because I haven't played against a ton of Battle Shock effects. It actually happened when Nick and I were playing a game together. It turns out that you do not generate Cabal if you're Battle Shocked. However, you can benefit from the rituals if you're Battle Shocked. Because the ritual says a unit over this unit does a ritual. Anybody within 18 or 36 can do da-da-da-da, whatever it is. And in this case, it was reroll save rolls. So that was really handy to be able to go, hey, these guys aren't battle shocked. They do the ritual. They're good. You can actually do a ritual if you're battle shocked. You just don't generate Cabal. So it gets a little hard. And the Zanger ability to generate Cabal, if they're on an objective, doesn't matter if they're battle shocked or not. You just have to still control the objective. But on a 4-up, you can generate a Cabal point even if they're battle shocked.
To control it with a different unit. That's interesting. Yep. Some edge case stuff right there, but yeah.
It was. And that's not like groundbreaking or I think it's the doing a ritual still if you're battle shocked. That's the one that's I wouldn't see that coming.
That T-Suns matchup is always so tricky. There's so many things going on. I just don't know enough. Even though I know, I still don't know. It's not enough to be like feeling comfortable about what's about to happen to me.
Yeah, I think it depends.
I feel much more comfortable going into them at this point, but like it's still one of those things where you're looking at the table going, there is no safe place. Like they can reach out and touch you anywhere on this table.
I hate just not knowing exactly where I move without like reprisal. It's just tough.
I guess maybe that's a good way to say it. The T-Suns player doesn't telegraph what they're going to do a turn or two in advance. You have an idea, but you don't know for sure because it could just be, what do you mean you're going to move that guy 35 inches? Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it. It can be.
He's going to go over there and he's going to see you, and now nobody else needs line of sight. Like, oh,
yeah, I
can't stop you from doing that.
I got the points here. Like, no more saves, Land Raider. You're like, that's not okay. You're like, that's not okay.
we were talking
get on
about
that objective.
How would you fix T-Suns? Because a good T-Suns player makes the game borderline unfair or unfun to play against. And what could you do to bring them back in line without making them like an unplayable army? Because you could nerf them into oblivion. I mean, you could. It's been done before.
Put them back on the shelf where they were before.
You don't want to do that. You want people to still play them. And I think the out of line of sight stratagem really is the crux of the issue, honestly.
Yeah, because that lets you get the casino gun, do his thing.
Yeah, like at least makes you like if you want to double move somebody and spend all that points and put them right in my face, because you got to see from at least you're there. I can now attack that guy or whatever. Like you're not like some chump guy runs up and then my army gets to shoot you from safe behind the walls, and I can just do that for multiple turns until you don't have anything worthwhile. And you're like, yes, that feel good.
Yeah, there should be some.
Maybe the triple move is a little too much too.
Also, that was the other thing we said. Maybe the Lord of Forbidden Lork needs to go away. Either one of those needs to kind of go away. If it was a double move, okay.
Double move I can plan for. I'm like, all right, so 24, it's a 36-inch threat with the flamers. There's walls in the way that I can kind of like position behind where like even with your move, you would be able to see around the corner. But like moving 3 times and just being like, hey man, what's going on? Like, you want a flamer to the face? I'm like, no. I don't.
Or 2 units double moving. That can also be kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah, I agree. I think those need to be touched in some way. I'm not sure how, but I think that's probably the crux of the issue.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's what I learned this week. Thomas, what'd you learn?
I learned a couple of things. We can talk a little bit more about the tournament stuff. I learned some stuff in my tournament, but I learned custodes. Not so bad. Like everyone was like raining on parade saying custodes were just terrible and looking at the book. And we're like, I didn't look at it, but like everyone was just like the unanimous decision in custodes is dead. You're like, I played them in a tournament. Like they were not that bad. That was a tough game. Like I ended up winning, but it was like not for that guy's lack of trying. Like it was tough. It was tough. I was impressed. He got me with a couple moves that now I know better, but like he was playing the sister's attachment. Like it wasn't even like the one that was like the one people thought was super bad. You're like, that was actually pretty neat. Some of the tricks he was pulling, I was impressed. The other one that was really eye opening was a guard. So there's a stratagem called Fields of Fire. It's 2 CP. If you've ever played against guard, you've probably been hit by that strat. It's like I target something, and then now everyone else who shoots at it gets an extra AP, which can be really punishing, especially when all the artillery and stuff. But what I learned was it only works on units that have the regiment or squadron keyword, and tank commanders aren't those. So it does not work for tank commanders. It works for regular Lehman Russes, or it works for some of the artillery stuff, but not actual tank commanders. So they don't get the extra AP. So good one. That was a good one to learn.
I mean, considering they shoot back at you when they die, like
that's no AP4 demolishers. You're like, thank God something feels right for me.
What about you, Nick? What'd you learn?
In our tournament that I played in, I found out that Gene Stealer cult do not like to get touched by things, especially early on. And the worse you are in combat against them, the better it is for you. Because
you're not killing them and they can't escape if you're touching them.
Right, yeah. So they can't pull guys out of combat and be like, aha, I'm no longer in combat. I bounce away and come back from the blips and all that stuff. And I was like, all right, so I touch all these guys. Like, cool. I didn't kill any of them? All right, well, we're still in combat. So, are you any good in combat? Because I never played Gene Stealer Cult. I hadn't played into them at all. I was kind of like had a vague knowledge.
Yeah, of combat. Yeah, like there's a couple units that want to fight, but not really.
yeah. The big guys with the bombs, like they don't want to be in combat. And like they have that redeploy relic, but it's before you know who's going first. So I was playing with my Tyranids, and I have my redeploy where I do know who's going first when I do it. So like I got the good first turn. He picked all his guys up out of the middle and put them back in his deployment zone. I was like, all right, now I pick up all my guys and put them back in like the middle of the table.
Oh, no.
They were all lined up waiting for the starting pistol to go off, and it was just like,
off to the races.
Spread out, and I touch everybody.
Oh,
and he's
man.
Like, no. Because he had half his army in reserve, and the rest of my army, he's like, I'm like, you got 3-inch deep strike, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. I screen everything. I had enough bodies for like, I was like 6 inches in between each model. I'm like, all right. So you agree, right? And then no way did these guys come in on this side of the table. He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the worse you like, if you're anywhere decent in combat and you kill enough guys, they pull them out of combat, or they'll pull the guys out of middle, out of coherency. So then they can like all the guys that die are the ones in combat when they
can pull the ones. It's a clever trick if you play a good GCR player. You're like, I got you, and then you're like, no, and you're like, random things die. You're like, I lost 18 out of my 20 guys, perfect, and then they come back and grow some more guys back. You're like, oh shit.
Yep. So I don't know how indicative that was for going into James Taylor Call, but everything kind of like fell my way real early in the game. If you can just touch them and stand there with them, as long as you don't die yourself, like it's bad because they want to be bouncing off the table, they want to be moving around. So
nice.
If you can put a lot of pressure on them, and you don't have to worry about getting murdered back is bad, or you have extra stuff to trash just to throw around, and you can pick up their blips too, right?
Yeah.
So like if you don't, their blips have to come in like they're deep striking, so they have to be outside of 9 inches of you. Well, if you're all up in his face, like there's nowhere to put the blips except for in really bad places. And then like your turn, you go, okay, walk over there and touch it.
Yeah, my experience playing Gene Circle, like you said, is rushing him good early is 9 of the blip. So if you can like, usually like, they screen you out, you can't easily shoot them or come in from reserve. But if you like charge them and then like kill something and pile in, you can kind of get within the blip range. Or you just like be next to the blip, so then they have to bring it in, and you're like, now I can shoot the guys that just came in from the blip, so they die again. So you can kind of like mitigate some of the stuff.
Yeah, I had like one spore mine in his backfield, That was just like a little Roomba. He was just hovering around.
Oh, I just spore mine so much.
He's like, oh, there's a blip over here. I'm like, I pick it up.
Taking blips with spore mines, that should be an award.
Model.
It was a weird interaction because he has basically a spore mine model, the little like explosive things. I'm like, so if I end a movement within 3 of that thing, it blows up, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what if a spore mine ends within 3? Does the spore mine blow up first and then do mortal wounds to you, or do we both blow up? It was kind of like, I get. We figured it was the controlling player's prerogative, right?
Yeah.
But I was
so you
like,
got to blow him up if you like moved over there.
The spore mine walked over to one of the little things, like, hey man, what's going on? So we gonna blow up now? All right, cool.
It works. That's interesting.
That's what I learned.
That was a terrible plan, generations in the making.
Well, the problem was he was playing against Tyranids, right? So like you can't be all hype about the forearm emperor showing up, and then when he shows up, you're like, oh wait, I'm not ready yet, right?
I was playing.
What you gonna do?
Like, yeah, you guys are planning for this, right? Well, here we are. Let's do the thing. Hop in the vat. Let's go.
No. I was just kidding. So, in that vein of I was just kidding, we actually are all going to a tournament in a couple of weeks. We're going to DreamHack. So, Thomas, you want to tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so DreamHack, if you're not in the know, that's not typically like a Warhammer or tabletop gaming venue. That's more of a esports. They had some magic. It's like it's a gaming convention, but more for video games and other things. So we got the National Tabletop League to kind of partner with those guys, and they wanted to put on some tabletop games. And so we kind of we're like, well, we have limited space. There's a little bit of short turnaround time in terms of like getting some participation. They wanted to have that at their Dallas event, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. And so we're trying to turn that around really quickly. And what we came up with was an invitational 4 teams, 8-man teams. So it's not a full tournament. It's just kind of 4 teams. We didn't have enough space for a full tournament. We didn't really want to have a singles event for the first time. They really like the team format because, from their broadcasting and just from the things that they want to do for the players. So we kind of want to make a show of it. So invitational 8-man, and we got some teams that we invited from the NTL that are going to go and play. It's going to be our team, Pro Tabletops. Nick and Mac are on the team this event, and then we're playing Art of War is coming. Team USA, so they want to come, and so they'll have some practice. I know they're prepping for WTC, and then we have United Midwest Project. So they're one of the teams that we competed against in one of the earlier NTL events. So
really,
4 really awesome teams.
3 easy cakewalk games for us. Just
nice casual weekend.
I mean, if you want to see some high level freaking 40K, there's going to be some top players there for sure. And then us will be there too. So we'll kind of be like the ones that they'll be beating up on, but they'll be on stream. So we should have a nice show. And then
we're the Washington Generals to their was it the Harlem Globetrotters?
Hopefully we don't get embarrassed on screen, but I think we have some good players as well. So we should be able to represent a little bit. So there'll be some good Warhammer, regardless, some good coverage. If you're interested about Warhammer, if you want to see us playing games, we should have some games on camera, and then we'll have a Tactical Tortoise. Trevi will be doing the streaming. I think War Games Live Joe is going to be actually doing another event, so we couldn't get him to help us, but we'll have Tactical Tortoise doing the streams, and then tune in and watch. So June 1st weekend. So I think it's Saturday and Sunday. It's just going to be a round robin, 4 games over the 2 days. Everyone's going to get to play each other. So there's just all of our egos on the line, right? It's bragging rights to see who can win. It's not like anything else in terms of a real tournament. I think there will be a winner, but there's only 4 teams, but it'll be exciting. So we're looking forward to that. It's a lot of prep and practice going into that. So I know teams prep's always it's never ending. It seems like we are always prepping for some event, and teams has just amped that up to 11. So exciting. And we're driving, right? Some of the guys are flying. It's in Texas, but us 3 are hopping in the truck, Mac's truck, and making the trek with all the gear.
Hopping at every Buc-ee's on the
That's right. South Mac doesn't put in the end destination. He puts in the next Buc-ee's. So it's I'm like, 4 hours, you're going to be there already? Like, no, that's just Buc-ee's. I'm like, okay, sure, Buc-ee's, that's great. And then next one, 3 more hours? You're like, Buc-ee's again. We're like, what?
Yeah,
I haven't finished the beef jerky from the first Buc-ee's.
You got to learn to pace yourself, right? You
I'm
get
like,
a
I
little
buy
bit of
beef jerky and every one. I'm like 6 bags deep. I'm like, oh, I can't eat all this. I feel sick.
Yeah, you can't re-up every time. You gotta change
I
your
know,
order
like
up.
6 bags of cherry sours, 4 bags of beef jerky, every flavor they got. Some beaver
Uh,
nuggets.
So speaking of beaver nuggets, let's move on to our next segment, kind of how our lists are doing and how we did in some tournaments. Mine's going to be short. My list for T-Suns has changed a little since the data slate. The Terminators got a little cheaper. Everything else kind of went up. So I had to kind of make some decisions on that. It turns out to be a wash. What went up just enough for me to include the Terminator unit instead of a Rubric unit. Turned out the 10-man flamer bomb with Armin is just overkill. Like it feels good.
From the receiving end of that, it does
That's
not
a
feel
strong
good.
thing.
It is
I did have
definitely
it shoot into
overkill.
Calgar squad, which Calgar always lives longer than he's supposed to. And it did not kill him, even though he turned off his armor save. So I was like, I felt good about taking arm onto the face.
Calgar has an invuln. Like the unit has invulns in it. They've got feel no pains in it. That's not a great target for Armin's flamer bomb.
There's only one feel no pain if it's like the last ditch effort. But yes, I understand. Yeah.
Well, yes, but the issue is you have invulns.
So too much, right? So you say you don't even need that much. So you took
like
him down to 5-man?
My issue with the Armin unit is it feels like a win more and not a win. I don't feel like 5 extra rubrics digs me out of a hole more so than another option in the army would. Maybe that's the better way to say it.
It also incentivizes you to like be aggressive with them and go use them, right?
Yeah, you have to.
Or if someone like gets a drop on you, like you've just lost a big chunk of the pie, right?
Yeah,
so you're able to take that
you've got this like little cradle, this little baby that you're protecting. I'll go do your thing, and then it does the thing, and then it just dies. And that's kind of my issue with it. Is it just kind of dies. So I was looking for something with a little bit more, stand on an objective, and the Terminators kind of fit that bill for me. I'm enjoying that unit. It adds a little bit something different to the army. It's enough of a threat that people feel the need to deal with it, but it's not enough that it is the end all be all, and I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. And at the end of the day, it's 90 more points than a rubric unit. That's not the end of the world.
Well, it's also durable enough to where if I do and you feel like I need to go take it off an objective or try to do, I have to like put more than just a little bit of effort into it. It's like,
yeah, they're not like a rubric squad that's just going to die like chumps. Like the Terminators tank us a few saves over there.
So 5,
yeah, you make a couple of extra saves, and you're like, well, that really screws the math up now all of a sudden.
A 2 up,
and if
4
you don't
up,
kill them, it's bad.
Turns out re-rolling saves is good. Who knew? But that's kind of the change that I've made to it. Other than that, the list has stayed largely the same. 10 zangers.
Your list is pretty. Yeah, your lists isn't interrupt you, but your list is like kind of non-standard in some of the choices you take from some of the net lists that we kind of see around, isn't it? Have we talked about your list? Can you go over real quick what's all in it?
It is a little non-standard. Where it deviates from the norm, I do still like a Mutalith Warp Beast. I think he adds something to the army. I like Zangers because they are OC2 and Tough 4, and they give you a Cabal point. Can't beat that for 10 points over Cultist. I like a Cultist unit because it scouts, and it gives you CP, which is always good. Basically, all my trash trades really well in that it gives me something if you kill them, or they're a little harder to kill than you think they should be. And I'm counting the Warp Beast in that it's kind of trash unit. But it's trash that can
until you roll
something.
that 6 in the hyper light beam.
That thing. Yeah, or it just randomly walks by you and mortals like 3 things, and you're like, I didn't count on. No, I'm dead. You stupid beast.
And with a 5-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain, it survives things that it probably shouldn't. It's so swingy, that 5-up feel no pain. It's been in the game for a long time, but I feel like it's way worse than it used to be.
It definitely feels more oppressive. I'm like, I don't want to shoot that thing. It won't die. The stupid thing won't die.
But the other thing that I do that most people don't do, most people take the Arcane Vortex, which is the strength and damage increase on the Flamer. They put it on an Infernal Master. So he's got a 7 minus 2/2 Flamer. Hey, 7 minus 2/2 Flamer that does dev wounds. Pretty good. 18 inches, right?
Yeah.
Can't beat that. That's good. I think there's a better option, and I personally like the Casino Gun. The Strength 6 minus 1, 2, 2d6 shots of sustained
a 12-inch
3.
pistol.
Yeah.
Right. It sounds
a 12-inch pistol.
innocuous. we're all like, nah, no big deal, 12 inches. Like that guy is a son of a. Like you do not want to get shot with that guy. Like he calls him the casino gun guy, and we're all like, if you ever play against Mac, you're like, point out the casino gun guy right now. Tell me where he is, because that guy is such a pain. It's very brutal.
Thomas and I actually played a game.
It's
last
just the
week,
one guy who just casually does like 20 mortal wounds in a turn.
He rolled. I'm like, all right, well, 2d6 shots. I'm like, just, let's just take it in the face. He's like, all right, let me roll how many shots? 12 shots, 2d6. He rolled boxcars. I'm like, this is not starting out right. I
think I rolled 5 6s against you too with the re-rolls. I think I ended up doing like 18
He
mortals.
did.
It was against the Land Raider. I think I did like 18 mortals, dev wounds to the Land Raider.
Did you even bother to turn out the saves?
I did.
You did turn out the saves, and you just did the mortals.
Yeah, because Armin popped around the
mortals are like, we don't.
Yeah, I could have killed like 2.5.
Nobody left. I killed them. You're like, I killed them all already. You don't need me, Armin. Stupid.
But every now and then, he just is. He ate his Wheaties and just got hyper violent. But on average, I like him a little bit better than the Flamer. I still have the Flamer in the army, the Infernal Master. I just don't have him buffed up to 12. Anywho, but I like the list. It's going to stay that way, I think, until a Data Slate nerfs it into the dirt, which, let's be honest, I think is coming. T-Suns had an insanely good weekend last weekend where they were, I think it was like a 61% win rate of all the T-Sun players or something crazy. Yeah, they won some events and then they placed top 3 in like 5 tournaments or something.
Yeah, so I played in a 2-day GT with it was like 38 players or something, and I was in the top table for the final round, and I lost to T-Suns. So like T-Suns definitely, he whooped the crap out of me. I was like, I got some T-Sun things to work on. They need to.
I mean, I playing them, and I'm
hopefully
you,
with the new chapter approved and the new.
I mean, it does. It gets you that. You don't want to like throw shit at your opponent and be like, he's just playing the game, like he's just doing what his rules tell him to do, and you're like, this. There's some aspects of the game it's just not fun or interactive, and you're like, you don't want the game to be that way. So I feel like those are the things that they always try to address. Hopefully,
yeah, it definitely gives you.
Also, the new mission pack coming out too could balance a lot of things, right?
It's true. Like they said a couple months, and we're all like guessing that means June, July is 2 months, and that puts it right around the event time frame. I think that WTC is in August, so there's rumors that they want to have the new thing in place before WTCs, which would be interesting because everyone's prepping and testing, and now all of a sudden new mission pack changes all the stuff.
Throw a curveball. Yeah, it would be interesting.
Yeah, you talk about everyone getting all rolled over on that. They might hold it up till after that, so it'd be interesting to see exactly when it drops. But theoretically, a couple months, that time flies, so that'll be here any day now, so it'll be a whole new army rules to learn. Some of those, they're not called gambits now, they're called
the secret missions,
secret missions or whatever. They look cool, like they look achievable. Like maybe, I don't know if you make your army to do that thing, maybe you do, but there's plenty of times where I was talking with Nick, I was like, I absolutely would do some of these things just in the normal course of the game, right? Like all else fails, like my warlord is running on your home base. I turned my nose up at him like immediately. I was like, bah, these are terrible. Whatever. You should be losing anyways. I'm like, what? This is awesome. Yes, I can do things.
Started talking about it more. I was like, all right, okay, I see a case for that. All right.
Nick was
okay,
that was that girl who's like,
okay.
Well.
No.
Yeah, we sat there and read through all of them, exactly how they worked, and we're like, at least the ones they showed on Warhammer Community, and we're like, yeah.
Some of them are just crazy easy. If you build your army for it, like put your warlord in your opponent's deployment zone, like okay.
Yeah, if you have like the 3-inch deep strike guys, like there's several armies that have ability to do that, and you're like Grey Knights or name 100 different ones, right? And you're like,
at the end of the day,
I hope you screen that off at the end of the game, or this guy's just like, he's just going to drop me 1,000 such. Like,
yeah, would you burn 2 command points to get 20 victory points? Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
It's happening.
Because I think it was like, you don't have to like control the objective, right? You just have to be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay, so is there room for my base over there? Great. Got it.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, and I think it's going to be interesting, and I hope non-standard play is rewarded. I hope that it's not because it's kind of like there's this like paradigm of, okay, how many activations do you have, and how much trash do you have, and how much of this do you have, and all the lists kind of they're all trying to do the same things basically, and they're solving the same problems in different ways. But I'm hoping that the new mission rules like destandardize that, and everybody's a little bit different, and everybody's doing weird stuff. Like it's more asymmetric, I guess, is what I'm hopeful of. Yeah, you're trying to kill me. I'm not. I'm just trying to get points.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, it's just some change, and sometimes that's rough, folks. But I think we've been playing these missions for a little while, so I'm ready for a shake-up. And
I mean, with my Tyranid army, that's the only way I score. Like win games is just like I'm not gonna kill you. I know this. Like I played against the Space Marine guy who was playing Ironstorm, had 4 of the Gladiators and the Executioner, all these tanks and stuff. And I was like, I'd be lucky if I kill a tank in this game. So I'm just gonna play the mission and see
how
what
do you win a game if you can't kill any of the tanks that his army is all tanks?
I killed a Dreadnought, and he had a Brutalis Dreadnought. I killed that Dreadnought because he forced me to, because he ran him down my throat. So I was like, well, got to deal with this guy. And like 1 Reaper. And that was like all I killed in the entire game.
Wow.
I lost by 2 points. Yeah. So, and it literally came down to like a dice roll in the end where like he killed my Biovore on my home objective. And that, if I failed once, the last save I failed with a re-roll, still failed it. If he had lived, I get 5 more points at the end of the game. And the other part was like I had to shoot an X-Screen at a Tech Marine and kill Tech Marine because I'd assassinate.
Mm-hmm.
I kill him, I win the game. So it's like
either one of those things happen, and then
either one of those things happen. Yeah.
So speaking of Nick, let's talk about your tournament results. Obviously that was the Ironstorm game.
Yep, that was a really close game. He made a couple of out of order activations that cost him, where he shot into my warrior unit and like killed a couple of guys, and I pulled them back from like the front line. And he's like, all right, now I'm going to shoot with this other tank. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm loading up. He's like, yep, okay, should have done that in another order. I was like, yeah, well. So I lost that one by, it was like 65, 67. So it was both low, both scored low on that one. But it was just like every time he got an objective, I'd run up there and just like take the objective off. Then he'd be like, all right, kills the guys on the objective. Like, I got some more trash around here somewhere. Go get them. So like we just trade back and forth till like he told me to be like turn 4 basically. Had like a handful of dudes left over at the end of the game. It's close though. And then second game I played against a Gene Stealer cult, and that was the one where I just ran forward and touched as many guys as possible, and was like, I don't know, this is my general strategy is just to like put high pressure with like trash units early in the game and kind of sit back and score as many points as I can, and it worked really well. So it was 100-14.
Whoa.
It was it was serious.
I didn't realize he only got 14, but I mean the way you described it, that makes sense. If you just pinned him in his zone.
I had both my 6-man of Von Ryans were in his home objective turn 1, and just like touching people
9 inches away from your deployment in a 3-point stance, waiting on to go.
I mean, it was very like, oh wait, we're still alive. We're not used to being alive. Turn 2. Charge that guy instead. All right.
Yeah, like -1 to hit on freaking Gene Stealer cult guys. They're not going to kill you in combat. They hit on 4s or 5s anyways. No.
And so I could fall back and charge. So I touched 2 units in his deployment zone. I was like, all right. And then it was my turn. And then so I fell back behind a wall. You can shoot Overwatch at me. Fell back with the other unit. Then just charged back through the wall again.
Or GSC guy. I mean, abused. That's terrible.
He got 10 of those.
It was a good game. He's a good guy, but man, that one was rough.
Oof.
What 4 points did he score? Now I'm curious.
He ended up getting some primary points and like area denial, I think, towards the end of the game, where he ran like a solo character out there and was like, hey, I got 5 points. He's like, hey man, you got it. You earned those 5 points.
You did it.
You're gonna be dead next turn. But
And
that one's pretty rough. Like I just kept picking up his blips and just being a nuisance basically. But like my army is very kitted out to kill his profiles. Like tough 3 with 1 wound and a terrible save. Like, well,
my army's kitted out to kill like the worst profile in the game.
I mean, hey, listen, it's all I got, man.
I'm serious. I'm not used to killing guys. This is great.
And then I got a Tau player on my third game.
This old Tau or new Tau?
New Tau.
New Tau.
He only had 1 of the stealth suits, or not stealth suits, the
ghost skills.
Ghost skills, yeah. He only had one ghost skill, and like he was like, "Man, I got 2 at the house. I hadn't built them. Didn't have them built in time for this game." I was like, "I appreciate that.
Yeah, ghost skills.
That gives me a chance."
Pretty good. Pretty good. Turns out.
And he was still kind of getting his feet wet with the army, so like he wasn't being super aggressive with stuff. And I was just kind of like, I've played this game before. Like I've played against enough Tau to know what to look out for. Even with the new profiles and stuff, it's kind of still does the same stuff.
Yeah.
What way less was he playing?
Shoot,
the ones that do it at the beginning, or the ones that do it at the end?
I think it was the one where you get extra AP when you're closer. The closer you get to them,
retaliation cadre. Yeah, retaliation cadre. I was just playing JJ right before the call here.
I mean, he melted some exocrines. Like he absolutely, he's like, "Oh, these are -5." I'm like, okay. How much damage do I take? But I ended up winning 100 to 75 in that game too.
Wow,
another hundo, nice.
But it was, I mean, basically the same strategy. I push forward hard with some trash units that are a little bit tougher than you think they are. They have stealth. They have a 6-up invul, which is like weirdly like relevant sometimes. There's like some people look at them like, "Oh yeah, I'll just pick those guys up." I rolled 2 6s, so one guy's left alive. And they're like, "What's the one guy gonna do?" I'm like, "See that character over there? I'm gonna eat his lunch."
not him, just his lunch,
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's gonna be fine, but he's gonna be really hungry after lunchtime.
Really, just hangry and kind of fussy.
Buddy. Maybe some GSC guys that don't eat those.
No, there's some like, I mean, there's only like 4 wound guys, floating around. Oh, it was the Tau guy. The one little the drone operator guy,
Dark Strider,
yeah.
I
had him sitting on the home objective, and I was like,
"Oh yeah."
I drew assassinate turn 1. I was like, "Well, I'm going first. All right, let me see what I get for my advance roll on these Von Ryans." And I rolled a 6, and I was like,
"You killed him on first turn?"
Yeah,
the 12-inch deep strike guy. Isn't he the 12-inch deep strike guy?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So he was the only guy in his home objective, and I was like,
punishing him.
I was like, "Oh, it's like a 7-inch charge, but man, if I kill him, all of a sudden you don't have the deep strike, and you're not in your home objective, and I get 5 points for assassinate." I was like, "All right, let's go for it." I hit the charge and was like, "Yeah, let's go."
Nick's living life right over there, getting Dark Strider in the first turn. Boy, that's rough.
It was I got some really good secondary draws this weekend, so I was like, "Oh yeah, this game is awesome. This game is easy."
All right, well, that's great. Well, Thomas, how did your tournament go?
Yeah, so I was at the same tournament as Nick. I ended up placing second, so I went 4-1 in the finals. I lost against T-Sons. Play against Noah. He has been doing pretty well with his T-Sons for a long time, but I think he won Cherokee last year. He's planning to go to Cherokee or Rocky Top. I think is his next event next week or 2 weeks from now. But he was there, so we were all geared up. But the rest of the tournament went well. I played a Tyranid player on the first round, and so the thing I was testing, I was really like gearing up for the team's event, and I'm like trying to play around with these Fire Strike servo turrets. And every time I put those in my list, everyone's like either like they're terrible, you're a terrible player, why you have servo turrets, or everyone's like, what's the deal with these servo turrets, Thomas? Tell us. And I'm like, I'm happy to
both
sit there and talk about turrets, right? And I'm like, they're like not super great, but they also are very interesting in what they do. They're cheap enough, and then they give you an extra activation. They're twin linked. They kind of hit on 2s, so they're just going to be self-sufficient, take up space. They only move 3 inches, but then now I'm like in the middle of the game. I have this little mini puzzle that I'm trying to solve with the servo turrets to make them do something exciting. So I'm always hyping up the servo turrets, and then if they do something in the game, I'm like over exaggerating how fantastical it is. Like if I make a charge with them from deep strike, now their 3-inch move has turned into a 12-inch move. Look how fantastic and fast the servo turrets are. So like the tournament was all about not if I won or lost the tournament, because that really was immaterial. I was just testing, hey, 2 single turrets versus 1 big unit of 2, because like their special rule is they overwatch on 4s. So like I have killed with 2 turrets a carnivore that wanted to charge them on the final turn. It was Oath. I hit all the save. I hit several 4s, and killed a carnivore in Overwatch. So that was nice. So this one I was like, let me test the 2, because sometimes I just need more units just to come in, and you just put them in reserve. They come in and shoot down a flank, and they have a 2-up save. You're like, go ahead and shoot at the turret. I don't care. It's got 2-up save. It's in cover. Like you might not kill. So first game, almost every story I played, the turret did something. fantastical. And of course, I'm looking for those moments, and I'm trying to make them do things. So like,
That's
there's a little bit
the
of
blue
that
car
going on.
syndrome. I feel like.
Yeah. But like Tyranid, so Nick will appreciate this. Like a Neurolictor charged some scouts. The turret is there. It had been shooting at an exocrine, and it's like, hey, scouts, don't die. I pulled the guy out of combat from the Neurolictor. He's like, I don't want to leave the objective. I'm not going to pile into you. Give you free swings. Scouts stand there. So I'm like, okay, we're going in. Turret's like, I got better things to deal with than you, stupid Neurolictor, but I will shoot at this exocrine down here. I'm like, oh, but you've charged closer to the scout, so I'm actually pretty close. I just move and charge the Neurolictor, and now all of a sudden I'm OC2. It's a Neurolictor's only OC1. He can't hurt the turret. The turret's like, don't fail this 4-up save, and I kill it. And I'm like holding the objective with this turret. So go turret is just like owning this like where the scouts are just like, no, don't hit me anymore, like, and the turret's like, yeah, you can't. This is great.
I got 2-up save, man.
That's right.
Nothing.
They don't care at all. You're like, you fail one of these, you might be dead. And he did die. So it was great. Game 2, I played against David. He was David Purcell. I played against him at Warzone and lost. He was playing guard. And the way he described the game, in our Warzone game, every like 50-50 roll went his way, right? So like there's a lot of like critical rolls or marginal rolls where it would just always kind of just a little bit lean towards him. Well, I was like, oh, I'm going to have revenge. And then sure enough, every little 50-50 roll was like so lopsided. At one point, I had to make like 3 or 4 charges. I had scouts to do things, and I'm like, I need these 2 scouts to survive so I could touch these 2 tanks so they can't drive out and shoot my Land Raider. That's when I learned about the regiment thing and extra AP on my Land Raider. I was trying to keep this Land Raider safe, and I was able to do all the things. So I was like, it was happening. And then he's like, well, 1 demolisher can shoot you. That's all I can get line of sight to your tank. And I was like, perfect. It's like 6 tanks that are going to see this Land Raider if I screw it up. Instead, only 1 can shoot him. I'm like, I'm a genius. And he's like, well, I shoot you. I'm like, he's like, take 5 saves on this Land Raider. I'm like, geez, it could just die, right? 3rd D6 damage. But it's AP3. I'm in the cover. I got armor contempt. So it's just 4-ups. Like, Matt says I should live, but you know how that goes sometimes. I go to roll the dice, and I roll, I'm not kidding you, 5 6s. I had to stop and take a picture because that's like obnoxious. But, also like, who's going to roll 5 Yahtzee 6s on those freaking saves? So that was just like the tipping point of how that game was.
There's
like,
a whole game based around rolling all 6s, and it's called Yahtzee, for God's sake.
It literally was Yahtzee, right? There are 5 6s. I was like, oh my, I didn't need those 6s, but I will take them. That was fantastic. You will not damage my Land Raider. So this turn says so.
You rolled Yahtzee, but you didn't say Yahtzee in tournament?
Yeah, I yelled it out. Stop, take a picture, take all the things. There was cheering. There was a lot of like people looking around, like what's going on with this guy? And then the shining moment, of course, there's a turret story. He has 3 vanquishers. At some point, I've like cordoned off the board where these vanquishers are just, they cannot get access to my Land Raiders. I won't let him shoot vanquishers. And if you don't know about a vanquisher, I'm like, I didn't know about a vanquisher. The profile on it is pretty scary. It's a Lehman Russ. It's the 2-up save Lehman Russ tank. It hits on 4s, but it's guard, so you give it an order. It's BS3 now, and then you stand still because it's heavy. Hits on 2s, right? Strength 18, 1 shot, AP4, which you can use that order on and make it AP5, D6 plus 6 damage. And I was like, I guess against some things who cares? But like against me and my 1 tank, the Land Raider, like I don't want to get shot with 3 of these things. Like no way, get away! And it rerolls wounds versus vehicles. I was like, I don't want any part of that. So I was like doing everything I could to stop this. So at some point, I stayed away from it. Like it never got to shoot a Land Raider once. But what it did get to shoot at was a turret. And my 2 turrets came in. Eradicator unit came in. They're like, Lehman Russ, go away. And they're like, no, Lehman Russ don't care. And I'm like, well, at least I'll distract him so he won't shoot at my Land Raider. Like the first turret shoots, he rolls a 1. He hits me and he rolls a 1 to wound. He's like, I reroll versus vehicle. So my turret's a vehicle. He rolls another 1. I'm like, oh, the turret's still alive. She's the last cannon. She's 100 kilo. Doesn't do any damage. I'm like, man, he's got to shoot a second vanquisher at it. I'm like, I've already won. Like, it doesn't matter if the turret dies now. And he shoots it again. He's like, I hit on a 2. He's like, whew. And then he wounds. He fails it again. I was like, he rerolls it, wounds. I was like, okay. What's this say? AP4. He's like, he didn't want to waste 2 CP to kill a turret. And I'm like, all right, well, I got cover. What's that? 5-up save? I'm like, yeah. hit it. I'm good. He's like, oh, I'll hit you with the hunter killer. I hit you with the last can. I'm like, oh, I failed both of those. D6 plus 1 damage. He rolls a 1. D6 damage. He rolls like a 3 or whatever. So I survive with 1 wound. So now he's tilted. He's got to kill this turret. And I'm laughing. I'm like, don't you die to this turret because I'm going to shoot you next turn, you know? And then, you can't. How can this Vankshire, the super tank killer, not kill a turret? Like, what is the most ridiculous thing you could think of? And this. It's happening right now. And this is after the 5 Yahtzee 6s has happened, right? So he's already like, I've got him in my pocket right here. We're laughing so much. He's like, well, this Basilisk could shoot Calgar, who's about to advance shoot charge. He's already like slowed him down. Or I could shoot this turret that has 1 wound left. I'm like, you can't kill that turret. You should not shoot. He shoots the turret. And he's like, take 3 saves. I'm like, AP2, I got covered. 3 ups. I hit all of them. I'm good. I don't care. Turret stays alive. And it lasted the whole game. Like, even on the last turn, he shot it again and again and again. And turret did not die. Survived with 1 wound. I was like, hero. Turret did things. Third game I played was against Custodes. I won't go through all the stories of that. There was some great moments in there. The turrets they killed a couple Custodes guys charged onto objective. So it was like normal turret stuff. But like they just shot for the whole game. It was good. They had the sisters thing. It was interesting. You spend a CP, and if there's sisters within 6, that strat works on both units. So they have reactive moves. They both can move away. They have a strat where, like, if you shoot the sisters girls, they could just, after you declare it, mark and make you shoot the Custodes. So I was like, +1 to hit for my incursors onto your bolter girls. He had like a big 10 block of like devastating moon sword chicks. And I was like, these bolter girls, the bolter inceptors are going to just nuke these guys. And he's like, all right. +1 to hit. Yeah, you got it. I got the oath on it. All right. Bolter Inceptors, get ready to shoot. Shoot. He's like, hold on, I'm gonna spin the strat. You gotta shoot these Custodes instead. I'm like, what? No, I don't want to shoot. Nothing happens. Custodes, little girls come and kill my land raider. I'm like, what has happened right now?
Like 9th edition salamanders come back to haunt you.
Oh, I was like, he told me beforehand that he could do it, but like sometimes you don't piece together those things until it slaps you in the face. So luckily, it was like I was able to pull that back, but I was like, I'm about to lose these little sisters right here. So that was game 3. So day 2, we come back and I play against Death Guard. On paper, Death Guard's a very bad match for Marines, but I played that match 100 times, and so I know exactly how to kind of dismantle it. And my current list is not like super suited for that, but that was the game of Calgar, just doing Calgar things, hitting some crazy Fort Feel No Pains. He must have hit like, it was so crazy. At one point, I'm on like 2 or 3 wounds. I charge a Plague Marine squad that has 1 Plague Marine left and 2 characters. So he fights first, and he had charged my Land Raider. My Land Raider was sitting on 1 wound. I just flamed them all. So I was like, Calgar, clean them up. There's only 1 guy left. You can tank these saves from 1 guy. And there's a drone there. It's wounded that I shot with a turret. And he's like, I'm going to swing on a Land Raider. I'm like, you're not going to, okay, Calgar, it's going to fight. I got to assassinate your 2 characters. I'll kill both of these guys. Go ahead and kill the Land Raider. I don't care. He's like, I roll 2 lethals. I fail my save. Land Raider explodes. I'm like, how much damage? 5 mortal wounds on Calgar. I'm like, what? I only got 3 wounds. I might not get to fight. And then he's all like, on my drone, it only has 4 wounds left. 4 wounds on the drone. And I was like, I killed the drone. He's like, let me see if it explodes. It explodes. Like, it takes 2 mortal wounds on me. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, well, 5 on Calgar, 2 on your Plague Marines. I'm like, of course I roll low on his squad. And what that does is interesting, right? Because the sequence of events, it kills the guy. It does 5 mortal wounds to me. I make 4 of them, so I'm still alive on 2 wounds. Now he does his explosion, does 2 mortal wounds. I passed 1 of them, so I'm alive on 1 wound. And his drone guy has now died, so the character's now split to 2 separate. So he's got to explode on each one separately. And then when I go to fight with Calgar, I'm only touching 1 squad. I was touching the whole unit. Now I can't only fight 1 character. I only get to kill 1 because everyone else has died around him. I'm like, well, this just went crazy. But Calgar's still alive. And so the hero moment of the game, obviously Calgar's there. He's in the middle of the board fighting this 1 guy. It's the last turn. We both have assassinate. We're trying to kill characters. He drives this predator up, looks down the alley. He can see Calgar. And he's like, I know he's going to back up and then shoot Calgar. And I'm like, I've already tanked like 2 or 3 rounds of predators shooting at Calgar. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that again. But I'm ready for the heroic moments, right? And then he's like, this 1 carnivore that's sitting on 4 wounds comes back up. It's battle shocked, but it comes up and I'm like, he knows I have the reactive move, so he's like, I'm going to not fall back with my guy, and I'll move the dreadnought up. He moves it up, and he's like, I'm going to charge you. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm going to fall back. He's going to charge me. So I was like, what can I do? And I looked down at my turrets looking down the alleyway, and I'm like, oh, turret save the day. Sure enough, I rolled it. I hit 2 4s, straight natural. I hit 1 4 on the first shot, twin linked it, hit both 4s. He failed 1 save. And I'm like, you got 4 wounds left, wounded guy. You have no CP. I rolled a 3 plus this D6 plus 1 damage, killed the carnivore. Freaking on Overwatch, just like drew it up. I'm like, then the guy's like, well, I fall back. And I'm like, I reactive move. Predator can't see me. Haha. I'm like, he's like, I could just see your arm. I'm like, all right. Well, you can't shoot me because you fell back. He's like, I'm going to throw a grenade. I'm like, no, of course. I didn't think about that. He's like, take 3 mortal wounds. I was hoping he'd roll low on his grenades. He's like, 3 mortal wounds. I'm like, okay, 3 4s. Calgar doesn't care. I like he just stayed alive the whole game. So it was kind of one of those glorious moments where Calgar did all the things. It was fantastic. So that was always a grudge match. Colin Cochran, a great opponent, and he always has some kind of knights. He's usually normally playing Chaos Knights. He had Death Guard with knights. So it was always some fantastical story about me beating up on his knights. So it was funny. And then the last game, I went into the finals with Noah. And so even though I lost that game versus Thousand Suns, there were several turret moments, right? Because now I'm just like, I'm losing this game. How can I make turrets do things? I'm like, I'm down to the last dregs of guys. And he charges a Demon Prince in. This is the worst case scenario, right? Like turn 1, I draw, bring it down and like assassinate or something. I'm like, this army's made to kill these things. And I'm like, I can't do it on turn 1. I need it on turn 2. I'll hold these 2 objectives. And he's like, oh, everything hides. I'm like, oh, turn 2, do I keep it? I'll keep it for 1 more turn. He's like, I screen you and I move block you. You can't score it. I'm like, I've just given up 2 turns of no scoring secondaries. So I throw it away, and he's like, all right, you threw it away? Everyone comes out. I'm like, no, all the guys here, I kill all the guys, and I don't get any points. So this Demon Prince charges in, and he's like, fights, does some mortal wounds on some stuff, and then he charges in on this turret, and I'm like, these are 3 damage hits. He's like, take 4 saves. I'm like, what's the AP on these? And I'm like, I survived with 3 wounds. I passed 3 out of the 4. I'm like, take that, Demon Prince. I'm like, turrets in combat. I have a second turret. I have Eradicators. I'm like, Eradicators, do some work. Eradicators, Flub City. I'm like, stupid Eradicators. Turret, shoot. He's man. Like, I hit the
always
save.
Eager to let you down.
Yeah, I hit the save. I reroll the save. I blank the damage. Freaking guy stays alive on 1 wound. I'm like, yeah, how can I? This is a Demon Prince. I can't let this thing be running around in my backfield. Turret, I need you to do something. What can I do? It's a vehicle. Brain, let's charge it. Maybe I'll slap a wound up. Like, maybe I'll just tank shock it. Sure enough, tank shocked him with the freaking turret. It's strength 4. Came in there, tank shocked it, killed the Demon Prince. I was like, what just happened? And then that same turret, later on the last turn, came and shot Calgar, killed his friends, but Calgar survived with a full flamer, no saves. The hero of the Imperium again. He backs out of combat, and then the Land Raider drives up. I have to advance. I have to put him in a doctrine. Flames all of his friends out. Armand takes some multi-method hits. He's like blanking damage, rerolling saves. And I'm like, you know what? This turret could just see Armand. Turret killed Armand. And I'm like, turret strikes again. So I was having a lot of fun. At the end of the tournament, everyone's like, these turrets, man. And they're talking about me about turrets, and they're looking on the shelves. They had some turrets there. Like, people were all looking at turrets like they wanted to buy some. I was laughing so much. Overall, fantastic run of the tournament. I had a great time, and the turrets did fantastical turret things. I don't know if they're like super great. They're pretty decent, but I had so much fun with them. I'm like, if nothing else, just for the laughs, I had a good time with the turrets. So.
Well, if it's just for the laughs, I mean, that's worth it,
I mean, if you're not having fun playing Warhammer, like what's the purpose,
doing?
right?
Like you're not getting ego, or you're not getting paid to do it. Your mortgage is not on that game. How about you have some fun?
Yeah. I mean, the amount of saves Calgar did and all the things that the turrets did, I like that game against David and his guard. He did some fantastic things. He overwatched, killed Calgar, threw a million field, and he must have rolled. I don't even know. So if you've never seen the Scions, he had a 10-man Scions with the platoons, whatever, the Scion command squad attached. They reroll hits if you're on objectives. They have like sustained hits. They get +1 to hit. They have all these crazy rolls. And he's like, take 3 or 4 plasma guns, 2 or 3 melted guns, 100 hotshot las guns, and then like full reroll sustain. You're like, okay, whatever. wow, there's a lot of shots. I'm like, oh, that was bad. And I deep struck in. I'm like, all right, well, getting rid of those guys. I'll charge him a second. Well, you're still on objective. Overwatch. He hit me with more hits on the Overwatch than he did on the drop. He said on twos. Can you imagine hitting more hits on the Overwatch? How many sixes he had to roll? Man, Calgar died on the last shot. I was like, not like this. The Vitcher's guard, he made it in, and he like killed 2 or 3 of the 15 guys that killed Calgar. I'm like, oh, this is not gonna go well. But,
I definitely like the idea of the Scions. It's just a bunch of human beings hopped up on every drug we can manufacture and give them the best guns we got and throw them in there. What happens?
I mean, that I disrespected that unit. Like, there's just a little hole. I just like one Inceptor, like 2 inches over. He could not drop him there at all. And instead, Calgar dead. I'm like, he survived so much, and this is the guy that gets him. Is these guys on Overwatch? Yeah,
that's great. You're the chapter master of the Ultramarines. That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyway, these guys gave me a melt-a-gun, and I'm gonna melt you now. That's cool, right?
My name's Steve. I just got here.
I mean, he shot me like 6 plasma shots that turned into like 12 plasma wounds. I'm like, what? What's happening right here? It's a lot of sixes happening. That's what's happening. God.
Well, plasma can only blow up once, you know?
That's right. I mean, I think he lost a guy on the first shot. It didn't even matter. He still like hit with all the plasma shots. Those plasma pistols.
Well, that sounds like you guys had a good time at that tournament. Kind of wish I could have gone, but you know, life got in the way as it tends to do sometimes.
It does do that. Yeah, that's for sure.
So, speaking of getting in the way, Chaos Space Marines.
Ooh, so yes, so many more armies, right? So Custos, obviously, they kind of like we're kind of a wet noodle, but looks may be deceiving. We had Tau come out. Orcs are a hot topic, so we've been playing lots of test games in the basement here. Certainly, we were prepping for all our team stuff, but Chaos Space Marines right on the tail end of it. It's already like full power of chaos, and there's like so many detachments that are interesting. So many. We're about to see it at DreamHack because we're allowing the new chaos there. So if you want to see some new chaos stuff in action from all the top teams, like they're going to have some chaos stuff. I think we're going to have a chaos army in one of our players. Yeah, topical freaking Chaos Space Marines. If you don't know about it yet, it's coming. We're going to be seeing a lot of Chaos Space Marines. This just in, they're pretty good. So like, I don't know, get ready. Like, so I think we wanted to talk about kind of just hit the highlights and then kind of, if you're new to Chaos Space Marines, the new stuff, give you a little glimpse of what you might be seeing and how to deal with it, or just if you're thinking about Chaos Space Marines, here's some new exciting things.
Well, let's talk about some of the gotchas that'll get you. The biggest one, so far, and there's one that just jumps out at you instantly if you read the book, Warp Talons. Holy moly.
Their rule is so good. It doesn't even matter what detachment. Doesn't matter what detachment they're in. Warp Talons just have their special rule is nuts.
You can pick Warp Talons up and put them in, I don't know, Tyranids, and they'd be amazing. Like they're good in every, like they're just good. So what makes them so good? So they're a Marine body, tough 4, 3-up save, 2 wounds. They have a 5-up invuln, really good. Turns out they have 4 attacks that are 5-2/1 in melee that are twin linked. They can still warp for sustained, and they can warp for lethal. They're Chaos Space Marines. They deep strike innately, and they move 12 with the jump pack, and they have fly. It's really good. What makes them broken?
Yeah,
maybe not broken, but borderline. If they are not, if they're eligible to fight in the fight phase, and they are not engaged at the end of the fight phase, you can put them in deep strike. So
basically, like they run in. They murder
the key
reading
is, and it'll be relevant later, if they were eligible to fight, but are not engaged at the end of the fight phase, you can put them in deep strike. That means
not your
on my turn, I charge, I wipe an objective, I go back in deep strike. On your turn, I now rapid ingress, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. Like
it's nuts. So like, it's even worse. Like one of the attachments. So like, you just think about it. This Warp Talons. Run up, kill my scouts. Nobody's left in combat with them. They can't bounce if someone's touching them, if they're still in engagement range, but nobody's in combat because they just killed them all. Boop, they go back in reserve, and then they come back and do it again. So like they're just like free kills. Like you're like, to combat that, you can say, well, either I heroically intervene or I have this tough unit that they can't kill all the way, maybe I overwatch some on the way in, whatever. Like if they don't kill you, you have a chance to like stop them in their tracks, and then they can't bounce. In one of the detachments, I think it's the Raiders one. Maybe you can tell me which ones. I get the names all mixed up.
The Raiders detachment. Let's just go ahead and start. The Raiders detachment has a stratagem that says if you were eligible to fight, you can make a fallback move. Mm-hmm. If you were eligible to fight, you could otherwise make a normal move. And if you're mounted, you move 12. If you're normal, you move 6. But the key part is you're eligible to make a fallback move in the fight phase if you were eligible to fight. So you can just go in.
Yeah. So you're like, if that scenario happens,
and then just leave.
Yeah.
And go, hey, I'm not engaged.
That Redemptor like heroically intervenes. So now you're touching it, and you're like, I fall back. I'm not engaged. Boop. I'm out of here. Oh, stupid. Why?
Yep.
I'm already like trying to think of how to stop these things, and you're like if you're like, do I have to have something that has to fight first so I can combat them, so I can kill them? You're like, there's things you can do as a Marine player, but it's also like super problematic. You don't have tons of models typically for Marines, and you certainly don't have like lots of like trash units to just like feed warp talents constantly. So you don't want them to get in something good, and then you can't even let them nibble on you a little bit and then back up and bounce. You're like,
in the Raider detachment, it's even worse because they get an extra AP attacking something on an objective. So now they're AP 3 talents.
If you're on objectives.
That's rough.
Rerolling all the wounds. Yeah, they can have lethals it's going to be spicy. Be prepared. There's going to be warp talents for days. So
is it the end all be all?
You're going to want some. Yeah, I don't think it's like unmanageable, but it certainly is a problem to be solved.
So Chaos Space Marines on a whole, they kept some really good abilities. They kept their cultists have sticky still. Really good ability for being as cheap as they are. The Legionaries kept re-rolling wound rolls and
50
melee.
Points?
Say again?
So like 50 points for a 10-man of cultist?
50 or 55 or
something. It's in that price range.
Super cheap.
But dummy cheap for a sticky unit.
Yeah, for sure.
Legionaries, again, they kept their re-roll wound rolls and melee, so they're going to be melee monsters. Their battle line, their OC2.
Yeah, they're like the assault intercessors, yeah.
Chosen, they're still good, turns out. Advancing and charging and fall back and shooting and advancing, or fall back and charging is still really good.
Abaddon, Rhino, still Chaos Space Marine things.
Abaddon can now attach to Chosen and Terminators instead of Legionaries and Terminators.
They took the Legionaries away from him, right?
Yeah. But Abaddon with Chosen to get advanced.
Oh, no, they took I thought they took Chosen away from him. He's only Legionaries, or is it the other way around?
Other way around. He cannot attach to Legionaries anymore. He can attach to Chosen and Terminators. Terminators, they're still what they were. There's nothing amazing to them. They're not bad. They're just not the best pick. Havocs, maybe their stock has gone up some. They're solid choice now for being the price point that we think they're going to be at. Let's see. You're going to see a lot of Legionaries.
Yeah,
you're going to see a lot of Rhinos. You're going to see a lot of Chosen. Possessed, if they stay as cheap as they are currently in the book, you'll see Possessed. Tough 6 with 3 wounds with the melee output they have for the price point they're at. You get 5 of them for 120 points. Whoa.
Oof.
Yeah. 240 points for 30 wounds.
With the involves, like that's too much. That's too cheap.
Their ability changed to now once a game they do dev wounds instead of every time they do a ritual, which is probably for the better.
At
the Renegade Raiders, you're going to see Renegade Raiders if you see Chaos Space Marines. Probably 80% chance that's what they're going to be playing. Let's be real. They have abilities if they jump out of a transport.
But
they can reroll hits and wounds. They can get precision, so they can pick characters out in the fight phase. What else? We talked about the weird move thing they did. They can add to their charge roll if they charge something on an objective, or they can Deep Strike and roll an 8 pretty handily, or a 7 in some cases. And then they have a reactive move. So, holy moly, and they have Armor of Contempt.
Oh, it's flat 6 reactive move too. Like none of this T6 and Armor of Contempt. This little bastard.
And it's a 1 CP battle tactic Armor of Contempt. Holy moly, that's good. Because Lords still do the same thing as Captains.
Yeah, the Lords just do that AOC inside the Chosen Squad. It's super annoying. Just got to break them out of the Land Raider so they can't AOC when they are break them out of their transport. That's the way you do.
Oh, it's that simple, huh? Just kill the Land Raider.
You kill the transport. It's not a Land Raider, right? Let's be serious.
I'll just tank shock them. Oh no.
They have a Rhino. Yeah, the turret, tank shock. Like it's easy. No, you kill the Rhino. It's just like playing Death Guard, right? You kill the Rhino and then you like fight the guys inside. None of the other stuff happens, right? So you know what AOC when you battle shock. But yes, it's a hard puzzle to solve. It's the same puzzle that you've had forever with the Chaos Space Marines. So it's interesting. There's lots of cool things. Several detachments look pretty spicy. So in terms of like play style and some of the units, I think you'll still see some of the units cross over, like the Warp Talons, obviously. But
yeah, you're going to see
there's
Warp
one
Talons
that we were testing kind of off the wall one that had Corn Mortar Skulls in it and some Vindicators and different vehicles. Like there's a detachment that like buffs up vehicles. They do the packs and they get +1 to wound, and so you get sustained. You start doing crazy stuff with vehicles, and you can get full rerolls. A Corn Mortar Skulls with the full rerolls, sustained, and freaking +1 to wound starts becoming like crazy. Now it's a Corn Mortar Skulls, right? For the most of us, maybe not Nick, killing a Lord of Skulls is kind of trivial. Like you have one or two things in your army, like I can kill the big thing. I can't maybe stay alive to do it again multiple times, but like there's at least one way to kill a big thing. So it's not the end of the world. But like if you get shot by it, you're like, this is not okay. It's hitting on 2s, full rerolls, exploding, wounding on 2s.
It's
flat
the
3 damage
Soulforge
everywhere.
pack is not terrible. It's really good.
Okay.
It's really good. And any other, if the Soulforge pack was in Space Marines, people would be clamoring to play it. If the Black Legion detachment was in Space Marines, if it was in the Dark Angel Codex, they'd be playing it. Like so many of these detachments, if it was in any other codex, they'd be, that's obviously the best one. That's obviously the best one.
Yeah. That one's like in your mind, like 3rd or 4th tier, right? Like there's a couple of that you saw from reading your reading of it that were better than that, right? So we talked about the
Black
one,
Legion detachment is the Veterans of the Long War. Like if you get your emotion out of it, and if you just look at it strictly dollars and cents, it's not bad. It's really good. It's Oath of Moment is their detachment rule.
That's the Oath of Moment one. Yeah, of course.
Like,
we know
Oath
Marines.
of Moment.
We know all about how great
that's
Oath
good.
is.
Oath of Moment with sustained and lethal with rerolls. Get out of here. That's fantastic. That same detachment gives you a fights first stratagem. That can
it's just straight up
game.
strat. You're like 1 CP, fight first.
It's 2 CP. Now it's 2 CP to fight first.
Oh, okay.
And you have to be fighting against your Oath of Moment target. But good news,
so
you have a stratagem
so
to pick a second Oath of Moment target.
Now you got 3 CP.
I mean, there are ways to generate CP very easily in this army. I will say that.
It does seem like it takes some setup, so it's not like all doom and gloom.
No.
It does seem powerful though.
No, but
it's not straight up 1 CP battle tactic. I get to fight first.
But there's you have a 1 CP move again, reactive move. That's a 6-inch move. You have Armor of Contempt in this detachment.
Everybody's just handing out like candy.
You have a 1 CP strat that gives all bolters dev wounds until you do 6 damage in a phase. Like, holy moly, this stuff is good.
That might make Terminators worthwhile.
There's an interesting one where you
can you take Havocs with heavy bolters?
Does that count as bolters?
No, it's bolt pistols, bolt guns, and combi bolters only.
Well, I was like, hold up now.
And it caps at 6. Once you've done 6 dev wounds, once you've inflicted 6 wounds with dev wounds, the stratagem turns off. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, a legionary unit with 10 bolt pistols. Okay, here's a grenade, and here's 6 bolt pistols. I did, 8 to 10 mortal wounds. With rerolls, that's fantastic.
Oh, sure. With the grenade.
Like that.
Do they reroll wounds for shooting or just for melee?
Just for melee. Just for melee.
Oh. So they're not doing that much dead wounds with the pistol.
There are ways within the detachment to get them, within Chaos Space Marines, to get wound rolls. It's not terribly difficult for them. That detachment, get out of here. It's fantastic. But it pales. Yeah. I don't want to say it pales, but it's not the obvious choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's not super sexy, but if you think about it in a game terms, how many games have you ever had where if you go, man, if I could fight first right now, right here, right now, I could turn the game like that.
Yeah, I would kill for that in any army I play. It's just like
that's super powerful.
And to have it on a
It's
strat
so
where it's
rare,
not like
too.
tied to a unit and they go, oh, so that unit fights first? Okay, I'll just avoid that unit. I go,
which one has the character that gives that to him, or like what gives that to them? Okay, cool. I ignore that unit, whatever. I don't care. They'll be alive at the end of the game. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
But that just being like, who do you want to charge? You want to charge him? Go ahead.
So the idea of like, I'm going to oath a moment the transport that's on that objective. I'm going to kill the transport. Now my guys are behind a wall, and I'll secondary oath a moment when you get out of the transport. The guy's inside that transport. Do you want to try to fight me?
You can't charge him without fight first. Boy, yeesh.
Like
the implications are wild.
It's cool. Is it the end all be all? No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying if you put the time in with that detachment, you could be a very dangerous player and a very good army. Other ones that are interesting.
You heard it here first.
I think this codex, if anything, shows there are a few obvious combos of like, okay, yeah, you put the chocolate on the peanut butter. Wow, you're the best, man. You got to figure it out. Even the dread.
You always like the ones that. Go ahead.
No.
I like you always like the things that like. Obviously, you have the things that are like apparent, and everyone can kind of first glance pick up the cool things right off the top. But you're like, if I spend a little time digging a little deeper, and I find a little nugget here, a little nugget there, I start stringing together. I have a necklace of cool nuggets, and then now I have this army of. I'm doing something off the wall. I like that, and like anything that can reward that kind of little bit of extra effort and experience and love of that army, like that really is something that speaks to me. So I'm not a Chaos Space Marine guy. I love to I'm the good guys. I don't like the Chaos Space Marines, but
that's a matter.
The idea of the codex
sir.
is the good guys. Okay, the idea of that and GW putting that all together in a book and gives you that variety to like play your army that way and rewarding you for that extra little things. I think that's really neat. So I appreciate the effort for those guys doing that.
This is one of the first real codexes too that I've seen that like really each detachment feels very different.
And
there's some overlap, right? But like Armor of Contempt and the fallback thing, but like all the fluff and all the flavor, like the relics and all that stuff, like really set them apart. And like the Dread Talon one, the Night Lords attachment, like primo stuff right there.
Don't get me wrong, the Warp Talons are broken. But that's what Warp Talons would do, and that's what they do in the fluff. Is they go pick on something, they kill it, and then they're gone, and they're just this like fear-inducing thing. That's what they should do, and that's what they do in the game. So I appreciate you're representing the fluff on the tabletop.
The fluff on the table, right?
That's what we all want.
How can you
translate? At the end of the day.
That's exactly as bad as it may sound. And we're all going to figure out how to defeat this. And if it's too bad, right? We hope GW fixes it, but I don't think we're at that point yet. It's interesting, right? How they translate some of the fluff into actual rules on the table, and when they hit it just right, you kind of already have like a little trepidation, right? They're already inducing that fear that you want Warp Talons to do. And as a Marine player, you're like, oh, I can't let Warp Talons do things like that to me. So
speaking of fluff on the table, in my humble opinion, I'm doing my Peggy Hill. In my opinion here, the Alpha Legion detachment is the fluffiest. Is it the best?
You've been jonesing for some Alpha Legions to be something for a long, long time, right? You're an Alpha Legion diehard.
Am I trying to, put a square peg in a round hole? Probably. But
you may miss maxed out.
We won't go through the whole thing because it's red string, the most red string detachment I've seen so far.
Let's do the murder board where when this guy did this thing, he was spotted in London,
But I do have to mention one honorable mention. So the detachment rule is you get to infiltrate up to 3 legionary and 3 cultist mob units before the game begins, excluding epic heroes that are attached. So you could attach characters to them, and okay, now you got something there. That's not bad, especially with the change that's coming. Some of the way that they showed the primary and secondary missions in those, like having that much stuff midfield, 9 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone, behind walls, kind of interesting. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. The enhancements are where it gets weird. And the more I think about it, the more there's something there. I think there's something there. It's not going to be a straightforward play, and it's not oath a moment. Please don't hear what I just said as like, that's that one CP strat that lets you fall back and do the Warp Talon shenanigans. No. There's an enhancement you give a Chaos Lord Just a Chaos Lord. Not a Lord on Terminator, not a jump pack, just a Lord. The guy with the hammer that does dev wounds. His enhancement lets him start in Deep Strike. He's a strategic reserve. Any Legionary can be killed and replaced with that Lord in a unit that doesn't have anything attached to it, and then the Lord becomes attached to it.
He's basically, I was always here, like.
I'm Alfarius. You didn't know.
Pulls
Haha,
the Mission Impossible mask off his face.
He's like, yes, Lord, Alpha Legion. I am Alfarius.
So it means you could all of a sudden be engaged in combat with a Chaos Lord when you didn't anticipate it. Chaos Lords are on 40 millimeter.
5 Legionaries with your scouts, and then they turned into the Lords hanging out behind the mask. You're like, "Ow, sucker."
You think you're going to out OC me? No, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do a free strat, and anyway, because that will come up. Because all of a sudden now I can do a free strat in that unit that you weren't expecting me to be able to do a reactionary move in. But just on its face, a 40 millimeter base replacing a 32, if I walk in off the side or if I deep strike, now I don't need a 9-inch charge, I need an 8-inch charge.
Yeah, the shenanigans I've already discovered. You just randomly get extra free movement out of a smaller, bigger base. What the heck?
I mean, just on its head.
Only you.
That's interesting.
Only you.
They also have a strat to add to your charge, so now that's even easier.
That 8-inch now becomes a 7 or 6.
It's actually, it maxes out at +3, so it becomes a 5-inch charge.
Yeah, this is...
Oh yeah, because that was the one where for every successful charge your army's made, you add one to the next charge.
It is incredibly Alpha Legion-y. You use a stratagem at the start of the charge phase on a unit. By the way, it's a battle tactic. So I go, all right,
free.
This unit, or more than once, this unit, for every other successful charge I make, this unit is going to get +1 to charge when they charge. So if you had 2 units that had that, I can go, this Rhino charges, these Cultists charge, this Rhino charges. Those 2 units have +3 to their charge. One of them happens to be a Warp Talon. And then this unit happens to be a Lord that pops up. Hey, now this Lord here, now he's got a 5-inch and they got a 6-inch. It's interesting.
Pretty good.
That's how I would describe that if that happened to be in the middle of a game and be like, what the... Because how are you going to pre-describe that, right? You're not trying to have a gotcha, but you're like, I can't explain all the rules.
Just hand your opponent your strat card and be like, good luck, man. I'll go ahead and set my stuff up and we'll get back.
By the way, set up the dominoes and in the middle of the table, and you're like, okay, by the way. That should be. Yeah.
They have a strat to turn any unit into infiltrators. Any unit. No deep strike within 12.
And when does that go?
Does it just last for that phase, or when does it last?
That you use it in your opponent's, at the end of your opponent's movement phase in their reinforcement step.
So right before the deep strikes come in, you're like, hey,
that guy right there.
I don't want you coming in here. 12-inch.
Those cultists, those 20 cultists I have spread out. Yeah, you can't deep strike on this half the table.
Oh my god! You can do it on a 20-man cultist squad.
You can do any Alpha Legion unit. I can do it on a Rhino.
That seems, but the 20 is way worse because you these guys are spread so far, and now it's 12 inches from the.
I can do it on the 20-man cultist squad, who also has a cult. What's the cult demagogue? The cultist attachment that's got all the 5 characters on it. So now it's a 25-man that can spread it a little further.
Oh yeah, the dark
commune. So now I have cultists that have 5 up and
20 to spread.
Yeah. They have a reactor,
and one of them's a Chaos Lord.
You're just painting a very dismal picture here, Matt. Maybe the Chaos guys are super stoked about this, but as a Marine player,
I'm excited because this is going to be shenanigans. Strat. It's a 1 CP strategic ploy to fall back and shoot. In a game where actions are going to be super important, that's huge.
Fall back and shoot is obviously I play Ultramarines a lot, right? So that was always their thing, and the new faction is not really Ultramarines, but Gladius, or maybe if you're playing Calgary. But that's a super huge ability. When you're just trying to do actions or just trying to move.
When you need it, you need it.
Yeah. I know we play Firestorm a lot, and then when you in that detachment you can't fall back. There's no way to fall back unless you buy a lieutenant, very basic Marine stuff, and you're like, that's such huge. Please don't touch me. Don't touch me. I better be able to kill you because I cannot afford to be touched.
Now, the argument is no, Chaos Space Marines don't particularly shoot hard. They don't. But being able to fall back and do an action, that could be huge. That could be big.
Yeah.
They have a strat to reroll hit rolls against something that's below starting. And if they're below half, you also reroll wound rolls. It's a battle tactic. It's really good. And then they have a 1 CP. If something that has deadly demise dies, it automatically blows up.
They used to have that, right? They used to be a big Alpha Legion thing.
Yeah, like the
Of course, your
booby trapped
sabotage or
ammo
something.
bump,
Yeah.
It was restricted to vehicles. Now it's anything with deadly demise, which I'm all about. That is the way to handle it.
Yeah. It's nothing worth it. Like making the freaking something with D6 mortal wounds blow up. You're like, no. Don't make
so
my
it is
blow up.
excluding Titanic, but there are plenty of things in the game.
Thanks.
I mean, every Land Raider in the world does not want to have that happen.
Riptides, I just learned, also blow up D6.
They do D6.
So, you know how I learned that?
It blew up D6.
I ran Uriel out to... I just got the whole army shot at my Land Raider. It survived on 8 wounds. I'm like, haha, Uriel, jump out. Deploy teleport homers in his zone. Land Raider, drive up. Haha, take that. You're dead. He's like, all right, well, let me see if I explode. Uriel, take 5 wounds. You're dead. Land Raider, take 6 wounds. You're down on 2 wounds. And Cursors take 5 more wounds. I was like, he also wounded his Riptide, his second one, and his Devilfish. It wasn't all just me, but like that thing blew up big, and I was like, this is not okay. Uriel didn't want to go out like that.
The thing that has me the most interested in this detachment, all that stuff's great. It's whatever. It's cool. It's thematic. There's a enhancement that I gave no credit to, but I reread it, and it has my juices going. It's called Soul Link. You put it on an infantry model only. At the start of your command phase, you pick another Heretic Astartes infantry character, excluding epic heroes, and until the start of your next command phase, the bearer gains the Psyker keyword and replace the bearer's datasheet abilities with the datasheet abilities of the character you select.
So not like your opponent's army guys, your own guys.
Correct.
You just swap abilities with a different non-named dude.
Correct.
Like what guys are you trying to swap with?
Well, so something can become a lord that is not a lord.
I can see that.
Something can become a Terminator sorcerer that is not a Terminator sword, which lets you reroll advance and charges and pick something, and your whole army gets an extra AP against it. Or you could become a Master of Executions, and you get to reroll hits and wounds. Or you could become a... I had an idea about another one, but it didn't work in that way. Really what it lets you do is Havocs can only have Forge Masters or what are they called? The Tech Marines. Dark Tech Marines.
Yeah.
The
Warpsmiths.
Can only have Warpsmiths attached to them. But now all of a sudden you can have anything attached to them.
Oh, that's interesting. Boy, that makes that unit have a lot of flex, right? You're like, I could just, whatever tool I need to be in that moment to get a special ability, I can just pop it
and
go.
supposedly,
Boy, I like that.
It's a 5-point upgrade. Because you still have to pay the other characters. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense in that regard. By the way...
Yeah, but I mean, you're already taking
You're going to have those guys in your list anyway. I'm like, oh, no Chaos Lords, don't hurt me.
But Master of Possessions...
if anything's fluffy, that's the super fluffy one.
Master of Possessions add +1 to advance and charge rolls to the unit they're in. So, all of a sudden,
Alpha Legion.
It gets a little easier to charge.
You need a 4-inch charge.
Or maybe I warp into another Master of Possession and I have another one, and now I have +1 to 2 different units, so I can guarantee that +3 goes off. Or you become a chaplain and you get +1 to wound, and you can unbattle shock something. Because that ability doesn't say you don't have to be unbattle shocked to engage that ability. So you go, I'm battle shocked. Okay, I'm going to turn into a chaplain and unbattle shock my unit.
Unbattle shock myself?
Yeah, why not?
Because it's not a stratagem.
It's
just
an
ability from the relic, right? Wow. Huh. Critical turn. I need to hold this. I failed it.
I failed it. No, I'm good. It's mine.
I'm a chaplain. I make it better. It's okay, guys.
Is that a once per game thing?
Yeah, but if I just turn into a chaplain and go, turn it. That's my once a game. Okay.
Well, at least you're not doing it every turn. That would be kind of
but it doesn't eat up the spell slot, if you will, on the chaplain.
Correct.
So you can do it twice a game.
Or if you actually have a chaplain.
But yeah, you take a chaplain who still gives +1 to hit, +1 to wound in melee to a unit.
Oh, because you would have to have that guy on the table to get to use his ability.
It has to be in your army.
Oh, sure. Makes sense. Yeah. Or not on the table, but in your army.
It's in my list.
Like, who's taking chaplains? Right? Like who's taking these random characters?
Right. You'd see that. So an Alpha Legion army is going to have like legionaries with like rando characters attached to it. And you go,
Yeah, you're like, I might
in
be
the
able to
heck
use
is
this
going
guy.
on here?
That's so interesting. It's so interesting.
Well, don't worry, I'm going to turn into this turn. Like, whoa, wait a minute now. Yeah, I'm a lord.
That's so funny,
and I do
right?
this
You're
strat
just
for free.
like, it's just a chaplain. One of my guys turned into a lord. Now there's a lord in there with him because you can't do it to a named guy. But like, oh, it has to be no character attached, so he can't join a squad that has a character.
Correct. But that's my lord that exists in my list. So now I can have whatever character has the soul.
What if the character? I know I'm going down the fringe here, but what happens if a character gets killed for whatever reason, but the squad's still alive? That's very rare, typically. But if he gets sniped out for whatever reason, is it free to now put the guy in there, or he can never have been attached to start with?
So he is just in strategic reserve. So he could just walk on. I think
I'm trying to think of a scenario where that would ever happen. Like I challenge out your Trump, and then I kill him because I got assassinated. And then you're like, haha, Chaos Lord comes and replaces him. Is that even a thing you can do? Probably too far afield for
you
this
could.
conversation.
You absolutely could, because he has to. His rule says he has to come into a unit that doesn't have a character attached. So you could be like, yeah,
It doesn't say that it has never been attached. It's not like it was once, then it disqualifies them. It's just at that moment.
If you do in the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, you can select one model in a friendly legionary or chosen unit that is on the battlefield, excluding attached units. Period.
Chosen one's interesting because you're kind of like, I'm like sacrificing an expensive guy. Basically, you're killing that guy to like put a lord in.
But to be able to advance and charge and then get him in combat, I mean, it's not the worst thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's advance and charge chosen, so they theoretically should already have a lord if they want to advance and charge.
Also, it adds.
Do that. But yes, I see
in effect adding +1 to their charge roll, because my base is bigger than a chosen.
Chosens are on 32s. They're on 40s, right? They're on 32s.
So
I thought they were on bigger bases.
Think of that as 10 points to add 1 to charge.
They're not blade guard bases?
I don't believe so.
Chosen are on like blade guards. I thought they're blade guard because they're 3-1. Now we get to look
to the Google.
It is totally something that we can solve. But is it the end all be all? No, but I think it's another one of those that's going to reward you to play it and play it and play it and have these like little abilities in the back of your head and tricks that are on. No, they're on 32s. Just looked it up. They're on 32s. So yeah, it's in effect +1 to charge to a chosen unit if you really think about it that way. It's not as bad as you think it is. Is it the best? No. But I'm probably going to do it just because I really want to try something weird, and I enjoy that. So, is that something you're going to see super common? No.
That you've been licking your chops to play Alpha Legion for a minute.
Like, this is years in the making right here. Those gene stones have nothing on me.
It doesn't enhance the damage of the Chaos Space Marines, which you kind of hope is big enough already. So we'll see. But that's what you're going to see is mostly if you're going to see Chaos Space Marines, just assume for the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 months that it's going to be the Raiders detachment, and you're going to see 2 or 3 units of Warp Talons depending on their points. You're going to see Legionaries and Chosen and Rhinos, and you're going to see a Forge Fiend or 2 maybe, depending on how they are, and maybe some Havocs depending on their points too.
You might see some Vindicators. You might see some Horn Lord Skulls. I mean, again, not even in that other detachment. Like, this is still pretty good.
Yeah. And Predators, because
that profile is
the Index detachment did get slightly worse. Slightly. They lost Armor of Contempt, and they picked up a strat that lets you, if a character kills another unit, you can pay CP, and the character gets better for the rest of the game. Basically a strength, a toughness, an attack, and a damage, and blah, 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 blah. But the character has to kill the unit. I don't know if we'd rather have Armor Contempt or that. I think I'd rather have Armor Contempt.
Yeah.
Probably Armor Contempt, honestly. Yeah. But it's still not bad, right?
So,
I mean, it's also situationally good if you can make that guy pull off the thing.
So, Chaos Space Marines, we'll wait and see the points this weekend, but they're definitely going to be a thing in some variety or another. So be prepared and start thinking about how you're going to deal with Warp Talons, because it's coming.
Well, that's for sure. Warp Talons, enemy number 1, or heroes of the Chaos Gods, because they're going to be everywhere.
Infiltrator stock going way up.
I mean, it's a rapid ingression. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, true, but then you're making them burn CP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if they're playing certain detachments, they can just put them on the table and advance and charge you. I mean...
Yeah, they do have one of the options is advance and charge, right? So they freaking be like, it's so far away, but so close.
12-inch move is still pretty good, as it turns out.
Yeah, on these short boards, like
so
ruins
you're going to see them next next episode we'll probably talk about orcs, because I think they maybe will have settled out by then in terms of what's good and what's not good. Right now, we're all still I'm still terrified of the 120 boys list. I don't want to see
Yeah,
that.
120 boys, or you have the bully boys, and like there's different variations of what the bully boys look like. If you don't know what those are, next time. There are interesting things with orcs. We are playing orcs at DreamHack, so we have orcs on our team. We think orcs are really good. If you're an orc fan, or if you've never seen orcs, get ready. I mean, there's going to be a lot of orcs because there's some good stuff in there. Some tough
It is
stuff.
a very stat checky army, but you need to be aware of that stat check. So,
they have some. The bully boys ones have some crazy strats, dude. I'm like, ugh.
We'll go over that next time.
Talk about get you.
So join us on episode 10 for we'll be talking orcs, but this has been episode 9. We appreciate you guys listening. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we'll be looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.